Right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the, everybody's on mute at the moment, besides me of course. We are now live and recording. So welcome everybody to the Small Business Masterminds Foundation webinar about the purpose of business and why you should even care. So this is what the webinar is going to look like. First of all, I'm going to give you a whole heap of stuff tonight, as much as I can cram into your brains in the time we have. So hang on, okay? I've got to love this topic. As they say, our ideas are like our children. Our own are always the most special. So I get excited about this stuff, about the purpose of business. And so fire me if you want. In a moment, I'll tell you what you can expect during the session, and what we'll cover. And at the end of the session, I'll tell you how you can take a really easy next step with a special offer for attendees only to these mastermind sessions if you want to. So that's what we're talking about, the purpose of business with a capital P. Couple of general comments. It's been proven time and time again that passively sitting and listening to someone talking means that you're going to forget 90% of what you've heard in less than a week. So if you want to get as much return on your investment of time in being on this workshop, in this webinar, then you need to participate. And the best way to ensure you're focused is by working through the set of worksheets that I've also already mentioned. So go and download it and print it out if you haven't done so already. The link to the page where the webinar worksheets are is there at the top of your chat window, tiny.cc. Purpose L page. So please follow along with what I'm talking about on the worksheet. If you get lost, let me know in the chat window. I've just changed the interface of this webinar, and on my screen I don't have the button with the thumbs up, thumbs down, or hands up anymore. So I don't think you can put your hands up anymore as you used to in previous times. But if you type a question in the chat window, I'll see it or hear it because a bell will go. So if you get stuck, let me know. Ask questions. Above all, ask questions. Questions engage your brain in a different way than just listening, and just asking questions will mean that you'll get more out of this, and others probably as well. Okay, any other questions about how the webinar works? Screen works? Okay, obviously let me know. So if you're going to get distracted by Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, email, text messages, your mobile, turn it all off. Do not think that you can get value, that this can be useful for you if you're on Facebook or on email or working or texting at the same time. It's just not going to happen. Multitasking is a myth, even for all the women on this call, on this webinar, believe me. So this is our agenda today. We're going to check in where you are on this topic, what your feelings are on this topic, and how far your thinking is advanced, in what direction it has advanced, and how you feel about it. We're going to talk about what is so important, why it is so important to have absolute clarity about the purpose of your business. We can talk about the 4 key principles about the purpose of a business, and the 3 reasons why the purpose of your business is not about making money. Then there's some further examples of the 4 key principles in real life. There's going to be a few tools to help you get clear about the purpose of your business. I'm going to read a business bedtime story. We'll focus on the big insights from the story and from what I've talked about so far. Then I'm going to give you a big, powerful tool, or the 7 questions, the 7 key questions to ask and answer to uncover the purpose of your business. Then I'll focus on that. I'll give you this special. I'll make you a special offer to let you know how you can take a very easy peasy lemon squeezy step next step. A couple of people on the webinar have actually taken that step before already, and they're back for more. So amazing. And finally, we're going to take action. We're going to talk about the action steps you can take from this call in the coming week. Because without action, without actually doing something, nothing's going to change. So I trust that sounded okay. Any questions? Ask. This is me, for those of you who haven't met me yet. I'm Roland. I'm a business coach, Roland Hannakroot. I'm a business coach and mentor and advisor, and I help small business owners become less daunted and less overwhelmed and feel great about themselves and their business by making business fun and building businesses that sustain you for years to come. And I'm also the author of a series of business books for small business owners, the 10 Truths books for business owners. There's 2 of them, and the third one is, it's just gone to the editor, so it's going to be very close. And I'm excited about the third one, actually. I think it's going to be, I know it's the best one yet, significantly. So today's Small Business Masterminds Foundation webinar is actually about the first truth of both published books, as well as the first 3 truths, if you will, about the yet to come book, and that reflects why how powerful this whole topic is for me. As I say in the first truth in my second book, a business that sustains you for years to come has a purpose for existing far beyond making profit or maximizing shareholder value. That's the truth. That's truth number 2 from truth number 1 from the second book, and that's what essentially we're talking about. That's the chapter heading of the first book about this truth. And these are my outcomes. This is what I want you to take away from attending this workshop. I want you to all walk away enthusiastic and with at least one action that you're committed to taking in your business around getting clarity about the purpose of your business. And second, I want you to all leave with a greater appreciation about how important it is not only to be great at what you do, but also at actually running the business. How important it is to be great at running your business. Because of, a lot of business owners, like all of us, and I count myself in that as well, we're great tradespeople, great professionals, and we know a lot about our profession or our trade, but to be a great small business owner and to build a fun business that sustains you for years to come, you have to have a solid understanding of all the key aspects of developing your business, not just your professional trade. And it's exactly what my experience was when I was a builder. Before I became a coach, I was a builder for 20 years, and that's exactly was my challenge. I was a great builder and a great carpenter, but I knew bugger all about all the other aspects, the other key aspects of business that we all face. So the key aspects of business that we all face when developing our business over time are these: vision and purpose of your business, which is what we're talking about today. Planning, strategic thinking and goal setting, numbers and taking control of your business. Financiability, that's an interesting word. Financiability. Financial management and profit and cash. Marketing and the market. Customers, sales, systemization and innovation, your staff, leadership, and finally, the rhythm of business or predictability of business, the predictability of business. And this is how we all feel from time to time, right? It's just too much to focus on. It's overwhelming, it's daunting, it's doing your head in. So I'm committed to helping small business owners around the world become less overwhelmed and less daunted and feel great about themselves and their business, as I said. And to build a business and to do so by building a business that is fun and that sustains you for years to go and so years to come. And that is my complete purpose. That's the purpose of my business. That's what I'm great at. That's what I do. That's what I'm on this earth for. And that's what I want. Therefore, I want to help you achieve And as I said, there'll be a special offer about that to take it another step after the webinar at the end or near the end before the action. So before we go on, I'd like you to go to your own worksheets, and on the second page of your worksheet, you'll see a question with some space underneath it, and I'd like you to write the answer down to the question right now, this coming month. What is the biggest challenge you face in your business? What's the one thing that keeps you awake most? So take a moment and write down the answer on your worksheet there, and I'm going to give you a minute silence. I know that's not one of your candles, Wendy, but you know, it's a candle. It's a good start. Right. Next question is underneath. It's also the next one on your worksheet. It's a question about your most. It's a question about your outcome. What do you want to achieve from being here today on this call, on this webinar? What do you want to get out of it? So what's your outcome? What are your outcomes? Just write those down as well. If you imagine that it's good that that coming on this webinar is good use of your time, what do you want to achieve? Very important. If you don't know what you want to get from being here, then you can't get it either, I can assure you. So let's run a little poll. Let me find the poll. Hang on. Run a little poll. We're going finances, purpose of business. Start voting. Right. These questions are on your worksheet as well. When I think of the purpose of my business, what I feel is A, frustrated because all I seem to be able to do is compete on price. It seems like my market and my customers have mostly no other interest in my business than being the cheapest. Or B, I'm confused. I thought making profit would be the most important reason for my business to exist. Or C, I'm hamstrung because I know where I want to go and what I want to achieve, but my customers seem to want me to go somewhere else most of the time. Or D, I'm excited because I absolutely know what my business exists for, and my customers and my staff are just as excited about that as I am. So can I get you all to vote? One person's already voted. Please, everybody, vote A, B, C, or D. Yes, we've got some D's. Still waiting for a couple of people to make up their mind. A, B, C, or D. Please pick one of them. Great. Good. That's great. So we've got one D, which is unusual in this case, but that's great. Got one D, and we've got a couple of B's and a C and an A. So it's most people in B, some people and there's some in A and some in C and one in D. So that's great. And look, let's put the vote away closer. It's not unlike what I expected, right? You know, when I ask this question of small business owners, that's generally the answer I get. We're confused, we're frustrated, and we're feeling hamstrung. But why should you care about that? Why should we care about that? Why do we need to get clear about the purpose of our business? Why? Why should we ask ourselves the question, what is the purpose with a capital P of my business? What does my business exist for? What's it here for? Why should I have to get so clear about the answer? Well, this is why. If you don't care why your business exists, if you don't care about the purpose of your business, your customers certainly won't, and then all that's left to do is to compete on price. If you don't care, that's all that's left. And competing on price, that's just a dog's game. For one thing, because there's always someone who will do it cheaper, and hence the purpose of this call, how can we go about uncovering the purpose of our business? And So what I'm going to do is to give you some deeper understanding and insights about the purpose of your business, and to direct you to a few simple tools that you will find really helpful to get clear about the purpose of your business, and I'll be leaving you with some simple steps to take straight away. So let's jump into the 4 key principles, the 4 pillars, if you will, that we're going to focus on in this webinar. So the first pillar is that the purpose of business is not to make money, not with a capital N. The second pillar is that competing on price is not a strategy for sustainable success of your business. The third pillar is that in order to avoid having to compete on price, you need to be clear about the purpose of your business. And fourth, the purpose of your business has to relate to your customers' needs. So let's get into the pillars in one at a time. The first thing is this thing that I say about the purpose of business not being about making lots of money, because the statement runs counter to most people's understanding of business, and a couple of people even voted B in the poll, so obviously some of you think that way as well. Most people's understanding of business is that the purpose of business is to make profit. And we've all heard that refrain. It's echoed by business gurus around the world about maximizing shareholder value. But so am I saying that there's something wrong with making money? No, of course not. On the contrary, making profit is great. Absolutely nothing wrong with making lots of money. It's heaps of fun to make lots of money, and what's more, a business cannot develop and grow if it doesn't make a healthy profit year in, year out. But with a big B, capital B, it cannot be why your business exists. It cannot be its reason for existing for 3 reasons. First, because it doesn't differentiate you from anyone else. Everyone wants to make money. So how does that help your customer to make a decision about who's better for him or her? The second reason is that your customers don't care about your need to make money. I mean, when was the last time you did business with someone because they told you they needed to make money? When was the last time you walked around to a shop and you bought something because they said, look, we really need to make money, so why don't you buy something from us? It doesn't work. Similarly, your customers, they will not buy from you because you need to make money. And the third reason why your business cannot exist to make money as its purpose is that it is a very hard, sad life to make the purpose of your business about money, because there is never enough. You can always make more money. If you've made $1 million profit this year, then that's not enough, because next year you could make 2 million, etc., etc. It's like this. There's one of my heroes, a guy called John Mackey. He wrote a book called Conscious Capitalism. He's the founder of Whole Foods Markets. It's a $6 billion organic and biodynamic grocery retail company in the States. It's enormous, $6 billion, right? It's like Whole Foods, not Whole Foods, About Life. There's one in Roselle, there's one in Bondi Junction, and I think there's one in Double Bay, that's in Sydney, and they're probably in Melbourne and in Brisbane and other places as well, for those of you who are not in Sydney today. But you might have seen them, About Life. But this is umpteen times bigger and makes umpteen times more money. And so John Mackey is the founder of that, still owner and founder now. And he wrote a book together with Ray Sodia called Conscious Capitalism. Fantastic book. Started a whole movement, actually. And he says this: thinking that your business exists to make profit is like thinking that human beings exist to eat food. Nice statement, right? Because obviously we need to eat food, and we enjoy eating food, and good food's nicer than bad food. But it's not why we exist. We need to eat food to make good on our own purpose in life. And so it is with business and money. Your business needs profit, and it needs cash, and it needs a fair bit of it as well. But the primary reason it needs profit and cash is to allow it to fulfill, to deliver on its true purpose. And look, I mean, this is a particularly, I need to fix this photo up. Anyway, it'll give you an idea. It's a very red book, and it's called Good to Great, and it's written by Jim Collins. Jim Collins is another guru of the business world, another hero of mine. He's one of the greatest, actually, of the modern business management gurus. And he goes into great detail about this whole topic in two of his brilliant books, both Built to Last and this Good to Great. And he comes to a similar kind of conclusion. There's a marketing guru called Roy Spence who wrote a book. It's not what you sell; it's what you stand for. And he's he's the brain behind some of the biggest brands in the world and in America and everywhere. So, and I personally, I love a guy called Simon Sinek or Sinek, who I don't know how you pronounce it, Sinek. That's what I'm going to do. His book is called Start With Why: How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Action. I came across Simon Sinek on TED.com. Don't know if everybody knows TED.com, but that's a fantastic institution. But anyway, if you go to either to TED.com or if you don't know what about TED, go to YouTube and type in Simon Sinek or Sinek, and you'll see lots of videos of him giving a talk. And the talk the main talk that he's famous for, and that I'm quoting here, is about that book actually. But the refrain in that book is what I've written there. People don't in the book, but also in the talk, is that people do not buy what you do. They don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. On the resources page, the tiny.cc purpose page, resources page where the webinar worksheet is, there's also a link to Simon Sinek's talk, actually. But what that means is this. It means that your customers want you to explain to them why your business exists. They want to know that. What is this business on this earth for, and why should they care? In other words, why would they bother wanting to do business with it? Now, a lot of you are going to nod and say, yeah, okay, fair enough. But think about it. I don't even give money to charity unless I believe in what they believe in, unless I understand what they're on this earth for. So let's go into a business. So, like I said, a lot of you are going to say, yeah, okay. But I know what I'm about. I know what sets me apart because I know what I'm good at, because and I'm fine. But what happens is I ask people, well, so what are you great at? And they always tell me three things. Three things. We do great work for a great price, and we give great customer service. And I bet you that if I ask most of you on this call, on this webinar, most of you would respond with a kind of variance and variation of those three. And I think we're at the bottom of page 3 of your worksheet, by the way. And so I hear you ask, or some of you anyway, well, what's wrong with that, guys? Because, I mean, I do great work, and I do product, and I do it for a great price, and I do give great service to my clients. What's wrong with that? Why isn't that good enough? Why isn't that a good enough purpose of my business? Well, fair question, right? Fair question. Has anybody ever heard of a motherhood statement or an apple pie statement? A motherhood statement is what politicians are fond of making. I'm in favor of motherhood for me, and vote for me if you agree with me, if you want me to look after motherhood. Well, those three statements, great work, great price, great service, are motherhood statements. What's happened? I've lost. There it is. That's a motherhood statement. Sorry, the slides have gotten me the wrong way around. That's supposed to be the next slide. It's a motherhood statement because firstly, your customers expect those three things as a minimum. When was the last time you had a customer asking you if you could deliver average work at an average price for an average service, with an average service? Those three are minimum expectations. Your customers are looking for an awful lot more than just those three. And secondly, what's more, all your esteemed competitors say exactly the same thing. They all say that they deliver a great product for a great price with great customer service. Believe me, they do. Because if they weren't saying those things, then they wouldn't actually be your competitors. Your customers wouldn't even be talking. Your customers wouldn't even be talking to those to other people unless they just like you delivered great product, great prices, and great services. So those three things are not enough to set yourself apart on, because what happens if that's essentially all you say? I deliver great product, great price, and great service. That the customer hasn't got anything to differentiate you on, and what happens then is you end up being, what all that's left is that you end up competing on price. That's the only one of those three statements that the customer can actually check beforehand, and so that's what they believe they can check easily. And competing on price is a dog's game, as I said. Building a healthy small business on being the cheapest is a long, hard slug to nowhere. And to illustrate the point, I've got some great simple examples of businesses who have uncovered amazing and deep purposes that I'll share with you. Some of those are my clients and some are from elsewhere. So here's a few. It's an architecture. We've got a couple of architects on the call, I think, today. Anyway, an architecture business that I've worked with, a client of mine. He found the clarity about the purpose of his business in that statement: architecture that inspires. There was a furniture factory that I knew in Sydney. Not my client. He uncovered his purpose to be the most beautiful tables in the world. BMW's got a great one, actually. BMW, to enable people to experience the joy of driving. It's all about making the driving a joy. There's a supermarket business. They are a client of mine. To be the best small supermarket in Sydney, and mine is to help small business owners feel great about themselves and about their business by making business fun again. So let me give you a little bit more background about that one about the furniture factory. So the most beautiful tables in the world. This was a purpose statement of a furniture factory in the city of Sydney in Australia, and some of you might even know it. A guy called Nicholas Datner. Some of you might remember. Some of you might remember. It used to be in Glebe Point Road in Glebe. Obviously, for those of you in Melbourne and Brisbane and Auckland, that's not very useful, but trust me. So Glebe Point Road, but yeah, so near the rail overpass. The business doesn't exist anymore now because Nick, the owner, he made enough money to sell all his stock, close the business, and buy a big sailing boat, and he's sailing around the world for the rest of his life, last I heard. And look, I often drove past his showroom, and the statement on the windows caught my eyes every time I went past. The most beautiful tables in the world, and it was fascinating to look up close, because this business purpose drove all decisions and all processes in the business. Hang on, I need to sip of my tea. And once you set out to make the most beautiful tables in the world, so many things suddenly become clear. Because first, there is no question about price. The most beautiful tables in the world can never be the cheapest tables in the world, right? It just wouldn't make sense. There is no question about how you select staff, how you find and recruit staff. To make the most beautiful tables in the world, you have to have well-paid and highly skilled staff, and especially passionate staff, people who care about what they're doing. Third, there can never be a question about the material that you select to make the most beautiful in the tables in the world with, because you can't just go and pick up any old piece of timber at Bunnings or wherever to make one of the most beautiful tables in the world, right? It's just so much easier to make. There's so much. Business actually becomes so much easier when you uncover that level of clarity. So nailing your colours to the mast with such clarity takes guts, and it also makes life simpler. And from a marketing perspective, it really becomes easy to start conversations with potential customers. And if you're in the market for a table, if you were in the market for a table for your newly renovated home, wouldn't you want to at least go and have a look at the most beautiful tables in the world? Of course you would. Look, I certainly did. And I bought one of their tables too, and I sent 2 friends to them over the years as well. Now, you might ask, how can you ever make a statement like that you make the most beautiful tables in the world? What does it actually mean, most beautiful? What's beautiful and what you think is beautiful, I might consider ugly, etc., etc. And how do you measure beautiful anyway? And how do you compare whether there mightn't be a furniture maker on the other side of the world who makes other stuff that's more beautiful? But that's the power of a purpose statement, see? Because a purpose statement is a statement of striving, like this man is clearly striving. It's a statement that defines an intention. It's not actually a goal that can be achieved, but you can strive for it. You can ask yourself, this table that I'm making, that I am designing, do I believe it is one of the most beautiful tables in the world? Do I believe it? And if you can't answer that question clearly with a yes, then you can't make it and you can't sell it, if you're honest. Now, other people may decide that that particular table isn't the most beautiful table in the world, because they may believe that the most beautiful table in the world has to be made from stainless steel and glass, for example, I know, while your tables are made from timber. Fair enough. But they cannot argue that you believe it to be the most beautiful table in the world. It's all about your belief. All about your belief and your clarity, and that's what people want to hear about. That's what Simon Sinek means when he says people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Especially for the architects in the room. Yeah. Fantastic, isn't it? I also really love that first example. The architect who decided to make the purpose of his business architecture that inspires. It is actually a client of mine in Sydney, as I said before. He and I came up with the expression of that purpose some 4 or 5 years ago, and it's truly changed the face of his business entirely. You'll find it on his website, and all his staff have the statement hanging up near their desk. The impact of committing to this statement has actually been enormous for him. It isn't hard anymore for them to decide which jobs and which clients they want to work on. And decisions about fees and staff and about the quality of the work have become so much easier. Most important of all is that it is so much easier to know what opportunities to say no to and what opportunities to say yes to, and what clients to say no and yes to. And being able to say no in your business is one of the most underrated business tools you can think of. And it's really quite wonderful to observe. When the two of us hit upon that statement, I actually hadn't foreseen what an enormous impact it would have on his business and his staff and himself. It really was quite, it was inspiring. So let's move on, because I can keep going for this on this topic for days. It's one of my favourite soapboxes. But I can hear you thinking, and I can hear it just now. I can hear it coming through the internet right at me. Sounds nice, Roland. Yeah. But is there actually any independently researched evidence to back up what I'm saying, or is it just something that I've made up? And I am so glad you asked that. Thanks for that. Great question coming through the internet at me, because interestingly, what's really interesting is that this whole topic of the purpose of business is actually one of the most comprehensively documented business management concepts of the last 20 years, especially in academia, but libraries full about this stuff. And it seems that you would think that the days of focusing on maximizing shareholder value as the primary purpose of business look to be numbered indeed. Because, surprisingly, or it may seem surprising, is it also turns out that some of the most profitable businesses worldwide, the businesses that make the most money for their owners and their shareholders long term, are actually the businesses that have absolute clarity on the deeper purpose of their business and how that relates to their clients. And that's the funny contradiction. It's nearly a Zen statement, like the sound of one hand clapping. By not focusing on profit, you actually make more of it. Don't look at it or it'll disappear. Weird, right? It's almost the opposite of what we're taught to expect or believe to be true. But that's actually exactly how it works, proven time and time again by many people around the world, large and small organizations, small and big business. At all levels, I've seen a whole heap of small businesses myself that have taken this thinking to heart and have done and are still doing exceedingly well. And that's anecdotal, but there's lots and lots and lots of examples of it. Now, there's probably another burning question in the forefront of your minds, and that would be this one. If what I'm saying about the purpose of business being something entirely different from making money, and that we shouldn't focus on profit as the most important aspect of business, why do most business owners and managers and CEOs and investors and journalists and analysts still seem to focus on maximizing shareholder value as the prime focus and motivator? And again, that is a wonderfully great question. Thank you again for challenging me, and this is how I will answer it. The reason is actually this. It's just so much easier to talk about money. That's what I believe. It's just so much easier to talk about money. Money is such a simple thing to focus on and measure. All you need to do is look at a single number, in a bank account number, and you ask, do I have more today of that number than I had last week? And if you do, you're doing all right, and if you don't, you aren't. You see, it's actually really hard to maintain a focus on something as tough as making the most beautiful tables in the world or the joy of driving. Every day there will be temptations to compromise. That means having tough conversations, doing tough work and making tough decisions all the time. And it takes maybe not quite as much courage as that person who stood in front of the tanks at Tiananmen Square, but it still takes courage. It takes true courage to stick your neck out and say, from here forth, we only do architecture that inspires. And that means that if a project or a client walks in the door that isn't at some level inspiring, then we say no to it, even if we could have made a lot of money from the project. It's all about courage. Courage is tough. That's why it's called courage. And not many people are prepared to be truly courageous. And what's more, people don't actually know that they need courage. They don't realize that they need to be courageous. People aren't having these discussions enough in business, especially not in small business. Nobody has these discussions. There might be an increasing number of MBA programs around the world where this topic gets discussed, but most small business owners don't do MBA programs, of course, before they start the business. So we end up just regurgitating the old maxim that business exists to grow and to make profit. As I said before, it's just plain silly. As I said, I don't even donate money to charity because they tell me they need more money. I donate money to charity because I believe what they believe in, so I certainly don't go and spend money with the business because I identify with their need to make money. I spend money with a particular business because they offer something that I want, because I trust them, and because I get what they exist for, and what drives them, and what they stand for. People do business with people they know, like, and trust, and the quickest, most effective way to build trust is to share of yourself, to share who you are, who you are being, what you stand for. People do business. People don't buy what you do, they buy what you stand for, as Roy Spencer. And so people, I spend money, so I spend money because I trust them at some level, because I get what they exist for, and what drives them and what they stand for. And then after they have satisfied my needs, they happen to make a lot of money as well. I'm perfectly okay with that. As I said, I can talk about this topic forever and ever and ever, and I can get very excited about it. So I need a Bex and a lie down now. So let's calm down with one of my business bedtime stories. Imagine you're all going to bed and I'm tucking you in, snuggle in, lay back and listen to my story. This is the story of John. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, in a country not unlike Australia, I worked with a small business owner called John. And John was an electrician, and John had an electrical contracting business, and John was quite proud of his business. And his business was a little different than this man's. He was quite proud of his business, but John felt that his business had been drifting aimlessly from job to job for some time. His customers and his staff were not particularly engaged with the business either, and one day John and I realised that because John himself wasn't particularly clear on what the business was about or why it existed, he could hardly ask anybody else to be engaged with it either, and hence, over a period of some weeks, we went through a process to unearth what John himself was really all about, why he did, what engaged him, and hence what the purpose of his company was. One day, in the middle of a conversation, John's face lit up and I could see him smile from ear to ear. What he'd realised was that what drove him more than anything else was safety. He couldn't sleep at night unless he knew that all his customers were sleeping safely too. The idea that any of his electrical installations might not be 100% safe would keep him up at night. We honed in on this insight and clarified it in the statement, "You're in safe hands." You are in safe hands. And suddenly things started to fall into place. The whole direction and focus of his business became clear. John was able to communicate this purpose of safety and being in safe hands to his staff and engage them with it. All his language with the customers and on his website and other collateral on his business cards and his vans became about this passion for safety. John knew he was on the right track with his purpose when one day one of his staff, one of his foremen, came up to him and said, and I remember it really clearly, that time came up to him and he said, "Look, you're always talking about that we're about total safety and that our customers are in safe hands. Well, if that is so, don't you think we should stop using those cheap circuit breakers from now on?" And now, a few years later, it's hard to recognise John's business. The brand and the purpose have become one, and everyone associated with the company lives the purpose every day, and John and his staff lived happily and safely ever after. The end. So these are the lessons of John. But go to your worksheet first and write your own top takeaways down on your own worksheet, if you would. What's come up for you from everything you've heard about so far? What did you think when listening to John's bedtime story? What about the idea that deciding to make the world's most beautiful tables, or you're in safe hands, or helping people experience the ultimate joy of driving? How does that strike you? What are the top 3 insights of learning or learnings you've got from this workshop so far? Or maybe you've got more questions than insights. So what are your top 3 questions? Please go ahead, write them down on your worksheet, and I'll give you another minute. So I think it's the bottom of page 5 or near there. I'll give you another minute to write some of those down, those questions, insights. Please keep writing. If you're not done yet, we'll keep going. I'd love you to share some of those insights or questions. So if you have any of those, please type them in the chat window, and if appropriate, I'll share them with the group and attempt to answer them or just share them. So while you continue to write, these are the insights that I would like you to take away. Number 1, I talked about how making making money can't be the abiding purpose of your business, because it doesn't help to differentiate you, because your customers don't care, and because there are more important things to achieve in life. 2, I talked about that competing on price is not a great strategy to build a business on. 3rd, then that to avoid having to compete on price, you need to be clear about the purpose of your business. 4th, and that the purpose of your business has to relate to your customers' needs. And then I talked about how doing great work for a great price with great customer service doesn't cut it as a statement of purpose, because everybody says that, and that you need courage to say anything, to say and commit to anything else. And then I went through a number of examples of great purpose statements, and how a client of mine found his statement to be "You're in safe hands." So we have a question from John in Melbourne. John, you said, I thought about this before. I find it really hard to get beyond good price, good quality, good service. Not sure how to go about finding something else. It's a great question, John. Look, I'm sure that many of you have that question in mind. Rest assured, we'll help you find the easiest steps to uncover your purpose before we finish. It'll come a bit later, actually, but I've seen in the agenda the 7 questions to ask. Well, that's where it'll come from. Julia in Sydney, a light went on for me. I suddenly realised that having a clear and deep purpose of my business means it's so much easier to know what to say no to. Yes, that's absolutely correct. That's totally correct. I said that before as well, because being able to say yes, know what to say yes and no to is just really one of the most important reasons to be clear about the purpose of your business, because it helps you decide what to focus on and what not to focus on, and being able to say no with a clear and articulated reason is just incredibly important. Comment from David. I've had an IT business for a few years now, and I've always just focused on profit. What's wrong with that? Well, David, thanks, David. Nothing wrong with that. If it works for you, all power to you. You know, honestly, I mean, if your business is performing how you want it to, and you are having as much fun in business as you want to have in your business, sustains you, great stuff, good for you, fantastic. I suppose all I'm saying is that for most business owners and most businesses, it is much more effective in the long run and much more fun, above all, to focus on something else, something bigger and deeper first and foremost. But if it works for you, all power to you, of course. No drama. So let's move on. I want to give you some assistance in. I've got a question. Verena from Sydney says, well-being seems a major word for me. Yes. Yeah. Verena wants to know if I think that's too woolly. No, well-being is a great word. Well, I think well-being is incredibly powerful. It's probably the same word that I use. It probably describes the same sense that I use the word fun in business for. Well-being in business is can just as easily cover the same thing. So I think it's a great word. And I'm not entirely sure if you want to replace the word purpose with the word well-being, but feel free to ask more about that further down. So we're moving on. I want to give you some assistance in learning how to uncover the purpose of your business. By the way, I use the term uncovering rather than create, and I do that quite deliberately because I believe that the deeper purpose of your business, actually already exists. But you just haven't become conscious of it, and you certainly haven't verbalized it. And so the process I want to encourage you to go through is that of uncovering rather than creating. And so there are 7 questions to uncover the deep purpose of your business? And the questions are repeated on your worksheet as well, in the middle of page 6, I think. So these 7 questions, answering these 7 questions in order will give you some amazing clarity on your business purpose, I promise you. And so let me go through them. First question, what are my 5 most important personal values as they relate to my business? 5 most important personal values. Second, what core beliefs do I hold about my business and my industry? Core beliefs. Again, it's personal beliefs. Remember, because it's not, people don't buy what you do, they buy what you stand for, and it's all about what your personal values and beliefs are. What do I get really excited about in business? What do I get out of bed for? What am I passionate about? Next, what do I want my business to be the best in the world at? Who are my ideal customers? Who are they? Ideal. And those ideal customers, what do they need? What do they need or want that they are not presently getting, that they're not already getting from somewhere? How can I address all those 6 questions above and develop a long-term, sustainable, profitable business model around them? They're the 7 questions. They're the questions that you need to ask yourself and answer. They're not easy questions to answer, that. Not easy at all. They'll take some soul-searching and possibly some brainstorming and digging around with others, and bouncing around with others, but that's how you get to the bottom of it. So the worksheet that is part of this webinar has the questions on them as well. And besides the webinar worksheet, there's also another worksheet on the resources page, that tiny.cc/purpose page at the top of the chat window. There's another worksheet on that resource page as well. It's designed to help you answer those 7 questions, or it's specifically designed to help you answer the first 3 questions: values, beliefs, and passion. So I suggest you download that as well and work through it along with the 7 questions, but we'll get back to that. As I said, though, these are not likely to be questions you're going to be able to answer off the top of your head or here on the webinar. So before we go on to action, let's have another look at the top takeaways. And I don't like olives on my pizza. Sorry. As before, there's some space on your worksheet to write down your top insights and learnings and questions, and also those of others. But ask yourself, what are your top insights? Someone loves olives. Well, you can have mine next time. What are the top 3 insights what are the top 3 insights you've had on the webinar? What do you see now that you didn't see before? Or maybe what are your top 3 questions? In other words, just take another moment to focus on what you've got out of this webinar so far. And I will and share them in the window, besides the fact that you love olives. Maybe Rena loves olives as well, so you can supply olives to her, and that will improve her well-being. But share your insights and questions with all of us. In the meantime, I'm just going to go run through the actual insight in bullet point form again. Money is not the purpose of your business. Competing on price sucks. Unless you're clear on your purpose, you can only compete on price. So competing on price sucks, but unless you're clear on your purpose, you can only compete on price. But the purpose has to relate to your customer's needs. There's got to be an intersection between your purpose, what you stand for, and what the customer needs. The intersection is, of course, the critical part. There's no point having a purpose about that you stand for freedom for puppets, if your customers are not particularly interested in the human rights or the puppet rights of puppets. That was a very silly example. Anyway, moving right along. The purpose has to relate to your customer. So as I said, great work, great price, great service are minimum expectations that customers have. I'll get back to your question in a minute, Chris. It takes courage to commit to a deep purpose and stick to it. And last but not least, to uncover your purpose, start with your values, your beliefs, and your passions, and ask the 7 questions. Chris asks, once you become clear on your purpose, what strategies do you suggest to convey this amongst your customers and staff? Once you become clear, once you uncover your purpose, the purpose of your business, and you are prepared to commit to it, it becomes a case of literally putting it everywhere. As I said before, the electrician that I referred to, you said you're in safe hands. It's on his vehicles. It's on his vehicles. It's on his website. It's as a sign on his site signs. The supermarket guy I talked to, it's everywhere. To be the best small supermarket in Sydney, it's everywhere. And so, and it's in his language all the time too. So, if he has a discussion with his manager about what they'll do next, or what they'll put in place, or whether when they're discussing a problem they're having with a customer, they ask themselves, okay, if we are the best small supermarket in Sydney, how would we respond to this customer complaint or issue? So it becomes part of your language, the language amongst your staff, amongst your people, amongst your stakeholders, if you will, in all your collateral. It's all about it's public commitment. It's publicly sitting yourself out there and saying, I'm prepared to be held accountable to this. Hope that answers your question, Chris. We've got some other questions coming as well. I may not be able to get to all of them. We're running quite late today already, so yeah, we're going to not go to too many questions, but Julia asked me again about that best in the world thing. So yeah, so Julia, the best in the world thing. So for small business, the world actually stands for your world. So if you're a plumber operating in the eastern suburbs of your city and only, so in the eastern suburbs of Sydney or wherever, then the world, to be the best in the world, means the eastern suburbs of your city. And the best in the world statement refers to a striving for, rather than the statement of achievement, if that makes sense, especially in small business. You can strive to be the best in the world. I have no doubt that you will know what kinds of things you need to strive for in order to become the best in the world. Because it's what you define it to be. If you're a plumber and you strive to give the best customer service in the western suburbs of Perth, what does that mean? Does that mean that you are never more than 5 minutes late for an appointment, for example? You will be able to answer that question. If you are the best small supermarket in Sydney, you can answer the question, well, what do we do with this customer complaint? I guarantee you, it's actually not easy. It's not hard at all. So if you have any other burning questions, let's hold on to them and type them into the chat window, and I'll answer them either at the end or maybe via email after the webinar. So let's move on. As I said, that. Oh, I didn't click forward. We had that. Here we go. We'll get to our suggested actions, but before we go there, I need another sip of tea. I want to make it as easy as possible for you to take the next step in uncovering the purpose of your business and to address your most pressing issues. And to help you out of feeling overwhelmed and daunted, because that's my purpose of my business, to help you feel great about yourself and about your business by making business fun instead of being overwhelmed. So, remember, I asked you that question: what is your most pressing issue? What is your biggest challenge right now? Have another look at your worksheet. What did you write down there? Is what you write down there still right, or are you similarly troubled about your sandwich, as this girl is? But yeah, check in with yourself on that. Because I want to help you with that most pressing issue. And I want to help you find some simple, effective steps forward in relation to that big challenge. So I want to make it as easy as possible for you to take the next step, so easy that it's a no-brainer. And I just want to, I need to make, there's a couple of people on this call who have taken up this offer before. I am sorry, but I can't make that offer twice. So for those of you who've taken that offer up once before, I'm sorry, you can't have it again. As I said, I want to make it as easy as possible. This is how easy I can make it to help you find and take the next steps. Because this is what you're going to get. You're going to get to carry out a really powerful business health check report online, and you'll get a simple and easy to understand written report on the state of health of your business across 10 different key aspects of business. You're going to get a hard copy of my first book, The 10 Truths for Raising a Healthy, Bouncy Business. And you get to sit down with me for an hour and a quarter, face-to-face, or via video link, Skype, or another video link form, one-on-one, and you'll get to gain great clarity and insight about where you are now, where you want to get to, and how to take the next steps to get there. And you'll walk away with powerful, renewed focus and one or more simple action steps that will help you start to move forward past that big pressing issue and towards having more fun in your business again. And all you have to do to get all of that is to make a $100 donation, or more of course, to my favourite charity, the Wayside Chapel in Sydney. That's all you have to do. $100 donation to the Wayside Chapel, and you get all of that. It truly will be the most fun, most effective charity donation you've ever made in your life. It's also on your worksheet, the last page of your worksheet, and on that at the bottom of that resources page, tiny.cc purpose L page. So back to the grind. Any questions about that offer? Of course, feel free to ask me. Back to the grind. So I said before, these were just quickly refresh the actual insights. Oh, that's the offer, sorry. One-off special offer. Health check, copy of the First Truths book in paperback, one-on-one coaching session, face-to-face or via Skype or video link, and clarity in next steps, $100 donation to the Wayside Chapel. So the actual insights: money is not the purpose of business. Competing on price sucks. Unless you're clear on your purpose, you can only compete on price. The purpose has to relate to your business, to your customer. Great work, great price, and great service are minimum expectation. It takes courage to commit to a deep purpose and stick to it, and to uncover your purpose. Start with your values, your belief, and your passions, and ask the 7 questions. Action. Ain't nothing going to change if you ain't take no action. So there's a special resources page. The special resources page I've been mentioning a few times. It's on the screen. You already have the worksheets, and there are other resources there. So this is what I want you to do. First, set some time aside over the next few days to be able to get into this stuff. Be sure to do this. If you do not set some time aside to do something with what we've talked about today and what I've given you today, if you don't do that in the next few days, then having come on this webinar has been an enormous waste of your time. Plain and simple. The only thing that ultimately makes any difference is what actions you take. So look at the worksheet on page 9. There's a resource on the there's a resource on the landing page, and I've referred to it just before as well. It helps you answer the first questions. The passion and purpose worksheet. It's really easy to use, and it makes answering the 7 questions, or at least the first 3, so much easier. So make sure you download it. These are the actions I'm suggesting that you take. Go to the landing page and watch the Simon Sinek video. Simon Sinek's the man who makes the refrain, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And he wrote that book. It starts with why. Watch the Simon Sinek video. It's 17 minutes. It's the best 17-minute video you will have watched in your business life. Download the Passion and Purpose worksheet, as I just said before. Put aside somewhere between half an hour and an hour to complete the worksheet. Download the article on which this webinar is based and read it. Make a first attempt at answering the 7 questions in draft. Then brainstorm with someone and draft a first sentence or paragraph about the purpose of your business and send it to me by email. I'd really love to see them. And I would love to give you some feedback on what you come up with. And finally, I'm going to ask you to do something weird. Very weird. It's called scaling, or relative scaling to be specific. It's actually a really powerful method to help people get unstuck, or to help people find really small steps towards step actions to move to moving a big project or a big stuckness forward. So on your worksheet is a scale from 0 to 10. And it's called your Master of Purpose scale. And 10 on the scale is that you are totally purpose-driven with a capital P in your business. All decisions, all actions are based on your purpose, and 0 is the opposite. What number would you give yourself on that scale? Mark yourself on that scale. Now, ask yourself the question, what do I need to do? What specific action do I need to take this coming week to move one small increment up my Master of Purpose scale? What is one specific action I can take to move one small increment up my Master of Purpose scale? For example, from 6 to 6.1. So we're not even talking big numbers, small numbers. Now, get your diary out and book that specific action or actions into your diary in the coming week. If you don't book it into your diary, it's not going to happen. And then finally, Thursday evening next week, at the same time, again, book it in your diary. Ask yourself the same question. That's it for this webinar. So please make sure you do these actions, especially the scaling exercise. They're not going to take much time at all, but taking the time to do them means that you'll be taking the first step to building a fun business that sustains you for years to come. Do it. Don't forget the special offer. It is truly the best offer you're going to get to develop your business and grow your business in the next year. That's me. More fun, less overwhelm. Build a business that sustains you for years to come. Any other questions? Please ask them now. That's there. You see the link to thewaysidechapel.com. So it's at thewaysidechapel.com. Follow donations. That's where you make the $100 donation. When you've done that, you just email me, say I've made the donation. Just go ahead. It'll be the best $100 donation you've ever made for anything. I'd love you to take it off. You'll get a mountain of valuable insights, learning, clarity out of the health check, the record, the first book, and my session. And the Wayside's going to love you too. Chris, thanks. Another great webinar. I really enjoyed the session today. Talk soon. Cheers. Yes, you too, Chris. I really enjoyed it. And that's for everybody. Chris actually, who's on the call at the moment, actually did one of these Wayside Chapel donation sessions with me today, and it was great fun. So, if you take nothing else away from this webinar, ask yourself that question: how can I become a little bit more purpose-driven in my business next week? Try it out. I know you're going to be surprised about the impact it will have on your business and your life, I promise you. Any last questions? Speak now, forever hold your peace, or otherwise email me. You can email me there at rylandandnewperspectives.com.au, of course. And that's it. I thank you very much. I'm going to switch off the recording now. You will get an email, a follow-up email with the recording, and everything else tomorrow sometime. Tomorrow morning, actually. Thank you, Rena. It was lovely to see you again. Don't know how to turn the recording off. For some reason the recording, oh, here. Yes, sorry about that, guys. Stop recording. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.